What is going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. It's Slick Mason once again here. Just coming at you with another video here that I wanted to discuss about a certain topic that I've been thinking about for a while here, which is how comfort is secretly killing your dreams, right? So, if you'll notice, I actually haven't been posting videos for a few weeks here. That's because life happens, and I had some other events that came up, and I had to create some content for those events. And then, of course, the other things that have to, regular upkeep, obviously in life, you have to pay bills, that kind of thing, get some things sorted out, right? So the main thing to do though is, you get derailed a bit, you have to jump right back into it and continue the streak, right? Or at least start a new streak, right? Which is what I'm doing now. So without further ado, let me get into the video here of what we came here to discuss today, which is this phenomenon of getting into a comfort zone, right? So when you get too comfortable, right, what that is, for example, is maybe you get into a relationship, or maybe you get a certain crew of friends, or you get into a certain routine, and then you find yourself in a situation where you're just doing the same thing over and over. You're not really being ambitious, trying to go after your dreams anymore. It just seems like you get into this lull, right, where you feel like you're just, things are not as interesting anymore. You're just caught in this cycle of just doing the same thing over and over again. Now that may not be a bad thing. That may be something that most people would call stability, but the most dangerous thing, in my opinion, is getting into a situation where you're too comfortable, that if disaster strikes, you're not prepared to deal with any kind of adversity whatsoever. Even if you have trained for it in the past, right? Your current situation might get way too comfortable, and then while you're asleep, that's when this disaster strikes, and then you have to figure something out real quick. So comfort, actually, I believe, is the kind of an enemy when it comes to somebody who's really pursuing their dreams and being ambitious. That's just my opinion. I don't know what other people think out there, but that's basically it. When you feel like you're getting too comfortable and things are becoming too mundane, then that's a very dangerous situation to be in. So I'm trying to avoid that at all costs. So now that we've laid down the groundwork for that, what that really is, um, some of the things that come with that is that you'll find that there's people in your life that are just draining your energy. Right. So when people are draining your energy, that means that, let's say you're in a relationship, like I was in a relationship. I got with a very very nice girl, right? She was kind to me. She was very cooperative, and she also, she kind of challenged me at some points in time. But what happened to me was I wasn't, I stopped making music. I stopped being creative. I stopped pushing myself to be, as productive as I used to be. Because I used to put out a lot of content before I got into that relationship. And then once I got into it, I got too comfortable. And then it's almost as if the inspiration kind of left me. And then I wasn't making as much more stuff that I felt was in me. Right. I wasn't really making as much of that as possible. Because I used to make like freestyles on a regular. And even when it comes to this YouTube content thing, right? So, I've gone into a summer over here, and I'm seeing that, now that I started working and making a bit of money and getting a consistent paycheck for a few months, that has gotten me back into a situation where I'm just, you know, continuing to be comfortable and just waiting for that paycheck to hit every 2 weeks. Now, if you've read a book, there's a book actually I could recommend, which is Rich Dad Poor Dad. By the way, I'm not even sponsored by them or anything, but that book talks about the paycheck being something comfortable in your life that becomes consistent, and then you start, it's like a dopamine hit, right? It's like you got to get more of that in order to feel like you're alive, right? And it's a drug. You got to get off that drug. You got to stop thinking that that is the end all, be all, and end all, right? So to me, I think I agree with that sentiment. And if it's something that you can avoid as much as possible, or at least if you are in it, you have to pay attention and try to push yourself to be better. Try to push yourself to get to the next level, right? So that's one thing, draining your energy. So your life has people who are draining you of your energy. If they are, and let's say they're your loved ones, you might want to just kind of spend a bit less time with them, right, and step away in order to continue pursuing what it is that you need to pursue and focusing, right? So that's something that I needed, or that I need a lot to remind myself of in order to avoid getting into that situation. Third point is that, or the third thing I want to discuss is when you're in that situation where you get comfortable. Usually, you have a lot of things going right for you in that situation, and that attracts a certain uh, you know crowd of people. People who want something from you, and at some point, yes, it's great to help people out, but then sometimes there's some people who come to you because they know that you'll give them whatever it is that they need. They'll never get off of you as a source of income for themselves, right? So you kind of got to watch out for those people. Now, I've had people in my, like an extended family, people who were friends, right? And they would just come to me and just ask me, for money. There's times I'd give them money, but it's at some point it felt like as if I was becoming just a piggy bank or a wallet for these people, right? And it seemed like they were not bettering themselves at all. And I had to make a decision to kind of love them at a distance, right? Or at least keep them at a distance, and understand that if I kept being way too generous, people would take advantage of me. So that's something that I think I learned as a lesson. And if you encounter those kinds of people, it's better if you kind of notice who it is, what kind of person you're dealing with, which is the most important thing, is understanding who you're dealing with, and then pretty much treating them according, right? Finding a way to at least distance yourself from them and focus on what you need to do, and protect yourself first, right, from those situations. Don't get taken advantage of, type thing. So another thing is that when you get into a situation where you're so comfortable, you might get into a certain situation where you're scared to level up. You're scared to take risks, because now it feels like you have to what is it? You have to pretty much take, you got some stuff that you could lose, right? So if you have something to lose, that's when you take less risks. You're not as ambitious, right? And then things don't really go exactly as planned, right? So, and things won't go exactly as planned because you don't actually believe it all the way, right? So that's another thing that might be a pitfall of being in a comfort zone, right? So for me, that's what I've found, is that I've found situations where I get a bit too scared to take risks, because now it's like, oh, I got this thing holding me back, or this thing, and I'm trying to grab onto excuses, right? Stop grabbing onto excuses. Right? I had to tell myself that. Stop grabbing onto excuses. Just get something done. Get something done. Right? Take the risk. Figure that out. Move in this direction. Right? And the people who usually win big in life, by the way, are the ones who take the usually the biggest risks that you could think of, right? Or at least the biggest risks to them, right? Where they believe in something so much that they just go ahead and swing for the fences. That's how I want to live my life. I don't want to live my life just being, playing it safe all the time, right? I gotta play some offense sometimes, right? So that's where my mindset is going. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is pretty much the last point here, is that you get to a point where you're losing yourself when you get into a comfort zone, right? So losing yourself in the sense of who you used to be, that ambitious person, that person who wanted to go after it no matter what. That person is still in there, right? But you have to wake that person up. Usually something happens that wakes that person up again. And then once you get that ambition back, or you realize, wait, I had this in me, man. Now I feel like I'm myself again, because I'm not in this, comfort zone area anymore. I can actually be the best I could possibly be. I can push more. I can take more risks, right? I could become much better than I am right now. It's possible to make this thing happen, right? And then you stop holding on to excuses and you start going after what you need to go after, right? So try not to lose yourself whenever you get into a comfort zone. that's just what I think is the best lesson that I've learned in life, is just not to get lost. To lose that what they call it sometimes is the inner child. The inner child. When you were a child, you didn't care. Sometimes you just went after something because you just wanted to go after it. Like how a child learns how to walk. The child just starts taking one step and then takes another one, falls, right? But then gets up again and starts to take another step and take it and falls again, right? You keep falling and falling and falling, but then eventually you start walking on your own 2 feet. But who taught you to do that? Right? Your parents didn't really teach you how to walk. You just saw them walking, and then you're like, maybe I could do that, and then you started going ahead and taking those steps forward to make something happen. So don't lose yourself in the process of becoming comfortable. And when you do become comfortable, try to avoid the pitfall of getting into a situation where you're not looking at your blind spots, where you're getting too relaxed, right? Make sure you're at least keeping yourself abreast of things, and looking out for any issues or blind spots that you need to make sure that you're paying attention to, and then you won't get blindsided, right? Anyways, I just wanted to discuss that with you guys today. Give me some of your opinions in the comments. Again, I'm still working on that project I was telling you, or fundraiser that I was talking to you guys about, where I could put together some money to bring some shows to you guys. And I have been making some new music, so I am going to be putting out some new stuff at some point later on this year, probably around September. And then, yeah, we'll probably see how that goes afterwards. And then I will also look at where the fan base is and try to arrange some dope events while going there whenever I'm coming to perform in an area near you, right? So thank you for watching once again, and I'll see you guys next time.